Today on Fresh Vintage, we're swapping PowerStop brakes. We're doing an upgrade on our 2011 Ford Mustang. This fits 2005 to 2014 Mustang models. We got a 2011. We're going to show you every step of the way on getting these swapped on. Let's get started right now. So kicking things off here, we have ourselves a quick jack, and if you've never seen one of these, definitely check it out on our other channel, Fresh Vintage Garage. These are ALI certified lifts. Very, very solid unit, and just to do this, I mean, I could do both hands, but I know it's not going to fall over, so it's a very solid unit. ALI certified, it's not a cheapo, so to speak, but definitely check it out on our other channel, Fresh Vintage Garage. If you don't have this, just get yourself some actual floor jacks and some jack stands. So. But we're going to take the lug nuts off with our Ioban, also on our channel, Fresh Vintage Garage. Nice little unit. It's, for DIY, I definitely wouldn't run a shop with this, but for what we're doing here, it has plenty of torque to pop these lug nuts off. And something nice that it has is it'll actually auto stop. You'll see it in action here. So it doesn't just spin and have the lug nut like fly off into your garage somewhere, but kind of a nice feature. There we go. And it will actually rotate these, get the rest of the way off. But we'll get these off of here and we'll get the tire off. So just wanted to quickly mention that we've already done the driver's side brake job kind of as a like how-to and just a learning experience for us. But we wanted to show you the passenger side and show you every step of the way. And to start off with, we have this little clip that me personally, I'm not going to put this back on. And just as a side note, the PowerStop kit, I didn't see that this came with it. So I'm pretty sure this is a factory thing, like Ford does this at the factory. Your Mustang may not have this, but we're going to yank this off of here and then work on getting the caliper off next. So to shed a little bit more light in here, because we're on the kind of the shadow side of the parking spot, we have our Benpack light stick. Thing's pretty cool. We have a magnet on to the car. Just gently put it back on the car there, but it's just to help shed a little light into the actual wheel well. But these are 12 millimeter bolts, and I didn't mention that the lug nuts are 21 millimeter. So we'll just break these free. And something tells me they probably used, wait a minute here. Whoops. Operator error. This is real life. So I was just tightening that, not loosening it. So don't do that. Very glad that did not break just now. There we go. Ooh, check out that wheel rub on the control arm here. Nice little extra bonus for the video there. That's kind of cool. But we'll work on getting this out of here and show you the brake pad removal next. Now this isn't stuck per se, but I did have to take my ratchets and just give it a little English and it popped right out. Don't let that fall on the ground because then you'll be doing a brake line job, but just wiggle this free. And then we have this Arcan brand, but you can find these all over Amazon. We'll leave a link for all this stuff in the video description. Just wiggle these off of here, hook it somehow. There we go. And then actually I'm going to flip that around and then just hook this up to, there we go, just like that. And now your brake line's happy and we can work on getting these brake pads out. Just some commentary on the driver's side. We did that off camera. We are not going to reuse these little metal clips in here. I'm sorry, we're not going to use the new metal clips from the PowerStop kit. And this brake pad here really fought us on the other side. So I'm just going to carefully remove this. And this is very important. Pay attention to how I'm doing this because this bracket's in the way and there's a couple other things that are just kind of fighting you, to be honest, as we found on the other side. So I'm just going to slowly rotate this out. Just like that. And your installation is the reverse of that, which took us a lot longer to figure out than I want to admit, to be honest. But the backside's fairly easy. Just kind of pull the backside out. Now for you novices out there who've never done brakes before, Make sure you pay attention. Your anti-squeal gizmo is on this brake pad, and it goes down here, and then this brake pad is on the other side. So there's nothing really marking that, but this anti-squeal has to be down here in the bottom on the back side. Let's get this caliper bracket off next. So we went out and got a little bit of a reinforcement, so to speak, here. This is a 1/2-inch breaker bar with a 15 millimeter. This is an impact socket, but these are 15 millimeter heads back here, and we definitely want to use a little bit more torque just because these things actually torque down to 85 foot-pounds, if memory serves correct. So I'm going to have to put a little oomph on this to get it to break free. There we go. And that one's loose. Let's get this one. Now, I will make note on the driver's side, we found these had Loctite on them. So from the factory, you probably have Loctite on your Mustang. And so you're going to have to, I don't want to say fight, but you're going to have to work, kind of earn it thing to get these out of here. And let me put the 15 millimeter on our 3/8 drive. So it's a 3/8 ratchet with 15 millimeter. And I'm going to show you how tight these are. You might think that these are like, what the heck, are these cross-threaded? But no, that's just, what do you call it on there? Just good old-fashioned Loctite. And I'll get this one out of here and show you how much Loctite is on here. Even now, it's still coming out pretty hard. It's amazing they put that much on there from the factory. There we go. Let me show you how much is on here. So if you have a factory Mustang that's never done, factory brake job, you've never done brakes on it before, that's what you're in for, kind of thing. So you're going to have to work at these to get them out, but I'm going to get this top one out, and then we'll take the caliper bracket off. So I got the other bolt out, and this promptly fell on the ground, so just be mindful of that. But here's our rotor, and they're not bad. You can keep using them, but we're going to give the Mustang the PowerStop upgrade it deserves. These things are kind of, yeah, you're starting to see little spots there. But let me grab the new rotor, and we'll get that cleaned up and put on the car. There it is, new and shiny. And if you are doing a PowerStop upgrade, they do notate front passenger side. The driver's side said front driver's side. But we have our tray here. We're going to throw some brake cleaner on here. These things are pretty darn clean, so you don't need too much, just a little bit. Swipe that off. I already hit the back side of this off camera. You try not to touch these things while you're doing this, but you inevitably touch them. There we go. And just some commentary. We're not going to change. We tried using the new pieces, the metal pieces in here from the PowerStop kit, and honestly we just had a bear of a time. So we're just going to reuse these. We ended up putting the old ones back in on the driver's side, but let me get this installed and then we can work on getting this whole thing back together. So we have our rotor here hanging. You can see it's loose, but gravity is fighting, you know, the fact that it wants to fall. So I have those bolts back in, and for the caliper bracket, and just mentioning it one more time, if you've never cross-threaded a bolt, this is kind of what it would feel like to cross-thread a bolt. You're like, what's wrong with this thing? But it's just all of that Loctite that's in those threads, which isn't a bad thing. It just makes for a very I mean, this is not usual in my mind. Normally these things are pretty loose. Crank them down. These got to go down to 85 foot-pounds and you're good to go. So we're going to grab our torque wrench. I'm going to get these snug, and then we'll grab our torque wrench here and crank these down to 85 foot-pounds. So a big shout out to Harbor Freight for sending this guy over. Nice torque wrench, Icon torque wrench. And it has a little dial, and it's in 5-pound increments. So we want 85 foot-pounds. So we just lock this in. This kind of like holds that in place so it doesn't move. And then we have our 15 millimeter on here, and I make sure I'm tightening it. And then I'm just going to torque these down to 85 foot-pounds. There's that one. Oops, I'm hitting the strut bolt there, so let me come up a little bit. There's that one. There we go. So far, so good. We're going to put some lubricant here. The PowerStop kit comes with some lubricant. We'll grab it and show you. And then we'll work on getting our brakes in here. So this is ceramic brake grease. And that comes with the PowerStop kit. And I thought, there it is right there. I thought it would come out of there. So there's that. If you don't have that, you can just get yourself some anti-seize. Very common. You go to the parts store and get it. Now, just some commentary, and we already said it once in the video, but these clips, there's new metal clips, one here, here, and then two on the back. They come with new clips in the PowerStop kit, but we just honestly had a bear of a time with them, and we just put the old ones back on. So food for thought, if you're going to do this to your Mustang, I would say just kind of mentally be prepared for that, because we probably spent half hour dealing with the other side before we just kind of gave up and put the old metal pieces in, and then the brakes went back in. So, but speaking of brakes, here are our brakes, and we're just going to mention, so you have your piston side on the inside of the wheel well, which is right here, and then there's your outer side. So this is our anti-squeal gizmo right there, and that's down here on this one. So we'll get to installing these right now. Backside's a little bit easier. You just have to have a little patience. There we go, that one just popped right in. There's that. And then this one, you do have to like slide it in like this. And if this goes in perfectly the first time, I'm going to go play the lottery tonight. That is incredible. That right there took us about 30 minutes on the other side of the car. We're not kidding. So, but now that your brakes are in, the springs are happy, everything seems good. We're going to grab our caliper piston compressor, and we're going to push these back in. Before you go pushing your pistons in on your calipers, especially if you're doing all four, we're doing all four brakes on the Mustang today, you want to make sure your actual fluid here is good, and we're just wiping this down because this was pretty full, and so we had to drain some of it out because we still have two calipers on the back of the car to push in, and all that fluid is going to work backwards through the system right up into this guy. So don't make a mess under your engine bay. Definitely check this before you push your pistons in. We have our caliper set up with our unit, our tool here, and we're going to show you this tool in a moment, but it's specifically built to push two pistons down at once. And I say that because in another recent brake video we were working on, we actually broke several brake tools like this, but this one's specifically built for twin piston setup like this. And I will say this works exceptionally well. And there we go. It's bottoming out. So I'm just going to flip this back. And let me show you this tool. We'll leave a link for it in the video description. Really nice, and it makes short work of that because we used a C-clamp on the other one, and we were pushing, but we had to go back and forth. So really, really handy tool. Looking inside here, these look pretty clean. Now's a good time to check the rubber to make sure you don't see any wetness or leaking. There's a little bit of rust, but I mean that's kind of comes with the territory on a caliper like this. So our pads are back in. This is torqued down. The bracket's torqued down 85 foot-pounds. So I'm going to make sure these sliders are moving properly, and then I'm going to carefully finesse this together. Which sometimes this goes pretty quick, and other times you got to work at it. But there we go. And something else to keep in mind is this rotor is still not 100%, perpendicular and exactly where it needs to be, and that won't be the case until you put the wheel on and torque the lug nuts down. But our bolts here are, if I remember correctly, 27 foot-pounds, So we don't actually have something to get down to that 27 foot-pounds. Our torque wrench only goes down to 40. So we're just going to tighten these down until they feel good. And we're going to do that right now. So you may be asking, why did we even need this? And I didn't mention it earlier in the video, but you got to imagine your pads are, thin, or these, I mean, there's still some left on here, but you could, you could use them for a little bit longer, but we're definitely doing the brake upgrade and replacing our brakes. So we're going to have brand new 100% capacity brakes. I say all that to say the thickness of the two pads together, that's about the thickness of one of these new brake pads. So you're contending with thicker brake pads and a thicker rotor because there's more metal on there. That's why this suddenly comes into play, where you actually need this to push those pistons back in to give you the clearance so you can make room for all of that to reach around and wrap around everything. So 12 millimeter on our ratchet, and these are still pretty loose. In fact, I could just probably do this with my fingers. There's that, and I'm just going to do this one. That's tight, so let's come up here. Now I'm going to stop because that's getting hard very quick, and that's not something you want to have happen. So we're going to pull this back out of here. Take a look at these threads. Threads look okay, so kind of wondering what the deal is here. Ah, that was the problem. Okay, so come over here and get a good close look at this. This slider has like a flat spot on it, and that was just like this. Like, I can't get it back down in there, but that was actually rotated behind the caliper. So I was putting it at just enough of an angle to where this wasn't threading properly. And now that I fixed that, it's actually going in quite smoothly. Completely did not stage that. Just something I was like, what the heck's wrong with this thing? That is the reality of doing brakes. So. And now that I said that, I'm looking at the bottom. That bottom one went in perfectly. All right. So these are 27 foot-pounds, and I'm going to go to the torque spec of tight. You're putting more torque than you think in a ratchet this long. So 27 foot-pounds is pretty easy to achieve here. So I'm going to say those are good. And let's check in on the caliper. It should float. You see how it's moving back and forth like this. It should move and be able to float, because as you push the brake pedal, this moves, it compresses, and when you let off the brake pedal, it moves to decompress everything so your brakes don't catch on fire. But with that, you hear a little bit of, scraping, but that's to be expected. So we're in a good spot. Everything is torqued up, and we're going to grab the wheel and put it back on now. So with our brakes back together, I'm going to throw the tire on here. And we're going to start putting the lug nuts on here, but we have a torque stick. These need to be 100 foot-pounds. We have a torque stick that we'll show you in just a moment. Will give you the ability to put only 90 foot-pounds on these, and then we're going to torque them the rest of the way down with the torque wrench. So we have our AOBN again, and this is a torque stick. You can see it says 90 foot-pounds. This only allows 90 foot-pounds to deliver to the actual socket. So we're going to go ahead and hit these, give them 90 foot-pounds. There we go. And checking in on the wheel here. Sounds perfectly smooth. That's exactly what you want. If you hear maybe something dragging a little bit, might be the brake pads, but I would stop, and if it's loud enough, pull that back apart just to make sure everything's happy, because you really don't want anything dragging. But I think we're good. We'll stop the Ford logo, so when it hits the ground, it's like that. So we have our socket here, 21 millimeter, and I just set this to 100 foot-pounds. I was doing this in a star pattern, as you noticed. Don't go in a circle. Don't be that guy, because you're not evenly distributing the torque correctly. And don't use this without the torque stick on it. We don't have a 100 foot-pound torque stick, but I make that mention because don't do this and then throw the socket on it and just start hammering away, because these have a 100 foot-pound torque specification for a reason. Some other vehicles, Subarus for example, Hondas, they have an 80 foot-pound, and there's stories where they will actually break the lug studs on these things because people just come in and hit them with the impact and put like 200-300 foot-pounds on them. So don't be that person, and we're just going to go ahead and Jay's going to hit the brakes, and then I'm going to torque these down to 100 foot-pounds. We're going to do that off camera. And so jumping over to the driver's side, you can see we have the PowerStop brakes already on here. The wheel seems to be happy. And there is a break-in procedure on these, so definitely if you buy the PowerStop brakes, make sure you pay attention to this. You have to do a couple hard decelerations, a few slightly less hard, and then you have to let them cool. So these help set the brakes with the rotors and the brake pads themselves. But overall, these are really solid brake pads. If you've never used PowerStop brakes, I would highly consider you check them out, because this is their Evolution Sport, and they have like a base like below that's actually not drilled and slotted. And then they have higher up levels, more like sport and racing. That being said, that wraps up this video. We now have our front brakes done. We're gonna go do the actual rear brakes. So stick around for that video. You'll probably see it up here, like a link will pop up or something like that. But with that, we appreciate you watching. If you like classic cars, if you like muscle cars, if you like keeping your cars fixed up and certified fresh on the road, Fresh Vintage your channel, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.